On Thursday, July 13, 2023, Mr. and Mrs. Anolue left their main residence in Awka for a burial ceremony in Iboku, a town in Anambra State, Nigeria. Then on Friday night, around 8 p.m., they got a call from their second son, Ifesinachi, who was living abroad, telling them to start praying seriously because the news he just got from their home in Awka about his younger brother, Chima, was very disturbing. To protect his parents from the devastating truth, Ifesinachi lied to them, saying their tenant just informed him some minutes ago that his brother Chima fell in the kitchen and hit his head on the freezer, and that he was currently in a very critical condition. He added that Chima was being rushed to the hospital as they spoke. This lie from Ifesinachi had the intended effect on the couple, as it protected them from suffering a possible devastating shock from the truth behind what really happened to their son Chima by totally downplaying what was truly a premeditated murder into a mere household accident. However, this lie, though effective at the time, only postponed their shock, eventual collapse, and hospitalization to another day, as nothing in the world would have ever prepared the couple for what they were going to find out when they eventually returned to Awka the next day to check on their son. Chima Anolue was a lecturer in the Department of Psychology at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Unizik, Awka, Anambra State. He was also a popular choir master and vocalist in the Anglican Church, Awka. Chima lived with his parents in their family house in Awka, Anambra State. Since Mrs. Anolue's children were all grown up and some had even left the country, they decided to take in some house help to assist with cooking and other chores. The couple hired Miracle, who was related to them through marriage. Miracle was a student at Unizik. However, due to the nature of his course, he ended up spending more time in school than he used to. This made the couple reach out to his father for another house help. In January 2020, Miracle's father introduced them to 15-year-old Ifesinachi Emmanuel. He became part of the family and everything seemed fine until one fateful day in 2021. The couple had traveled to Iboku for a function. While there, they received a phone call from a family member that jungle justice was about to be enforced on Ifesinachi and his accomplice. This came as a great shock to Mrs. Anolue, but this was just the beginning of the horror that was about to unfold in her family. It turned out that Ifesinachi and his accomplice had broken into a construction site to steal rods. They were caught by the vigilante group overseeing the security of the estate, and the vigilantes were planning to enforce a jungle justice on them. Since the couple was far from home, they passed the information to Chima, asking him to go and rescue Ifesinachi, which he did. When the couple returned home later, Chima narrated everything to his parents. He explained to them that Ifesinachi and his accomplice had been stealing rods from people's construction sites to sell for profit. When confronted with these facts, Ifesinachi confessed and also apologized for taking part in the illicit trade. However, Mr. Anolue punished him and also threatened to send him packing. Ifesinachi's parents were called to come take their son home. However, after much pleading, both from the parents and Ifesinachi himself, the couple decided to give him a second chance. A second chance they would later wish Ifesinachi had given their own son, Chima. Things went back to normal for a while until February 2023. It was during the Nigerian election period, and some family members had come to visit prior to the election. During their stay, an airport went missing. This missing airport was later discovered to have been stolen by Ifesinachi. This was an embarrassing situation for the couple, and they once again felt they've tolerated enough. They threatened to send him packing once again. However, Ifesinachi cried regrettably and even went as far as writing an undertaking, promising to be of good conduct and behavior. He stated in the undertaking that if he ever misbehaved again, he should be sent out of the house. Seeing this, the family missed out on the second chance fate was presenting to them to save their own son's life. Once again, they forgave Ifesinachi with the hope that he actually meant every single word he said. However, when Chima came back that evening and heard his parents' decision to let Ifesinachi stay in the family, he wasn't happy, and he made this known to his parents. He told his parents not to allow Ifesinachi to stay with them anymore, that the kind of things he heard about the boy during the interrogation at the security post when he was caught stealing rods from the construction sites were very troubling. Regrettably, his parents ignored this warning and went on to let him stay. Ifesinachi got to find out that Chima had told his parents to send him packing. Not only did this not sit well with him, it also awakened some darkness in him. From that moment onwards, Ifesinachi started harboring some ill feelings towards Chima. The family knew about his unhappiness towards Chima, but what they didn't know was how far he was willing to go to pay him back for wanting to get rid of him. After that incident, everything seemed to have gone back to normal. They were all living happily as one big family, and no one would have ever suspected that Ifesinachi was still harboring any form of ill feelings towards Chima until the 13th of July 2023, just 5 months after he had submitted the undertaking. On that fateful Thursday, Mr. and Mrs. Anolue left for a burial ceremony in Iboku. They had wanted Ifesinachi to go with them, but he lied that he still had exams to write in school. Chima would have gone with his parents that day, but he had a busy weekend ahead. This ranged from school activities to church programs, which he played key roles in, and wouldn't want to leave any vacuum. Luckily for them, Chineye, who was a family member, came around because she needed a place to stay while processing her final year clearance in school. Chineye was asked to keep an eye on Ifesinachi and to also cook for the family until they returned on Saturday. Chima came out to bid his parents a safe journey as they departed Awka for Iboku. Unknown to Mr. and Mrs. Anolue, this will be the very last time they will ever see their son alive. On Friday, July 14, 2023, after Mr. and Mrs. Anolue had returned from the burial to their place in Iboku, Mrs. Anolue began calling her children to check up on them. She called Chineye around 7 p.m. to check up on her and others in Awka. She asked after Chima, but Chima had not returned home at the time. She then told Chineye to lock up all the doors and gates for security reasons and to also gather everyone in the house for bedtime prayers. About 1 hour later, Mrs. Anolue received a call from his second son, Ifeanyi, who then asked her if she could return to Awka, that something bad had happened to Chima. He went on to admonish her to pray about the situation. When Mrs. Anolue asked him what was wrong, he lied to her that Chima fell in the kitchen and hit his head on the freezer, and that he had been rushed to the hospital for treatment. Since it was already late, the couple couldn't leave for Awka that night, so they decided to wait till the next morning. Mr. and Mrs. Anolue went to bed that night, completely unaware of the nightmare that would soon become their reality the next day. What happened was that immediately after Chineye had gotten off the call with Mrs. Anolue, she went out to implement the instructions given to her. Chima had already returned home by then. Chineye locked the doors and gates, after which she went to get Ifesinachi so that they could have their bedtime prayers. She checked his room, but he wasn't there. She proceeded to check the parlor and kitchen, but he still couldn't be found. Chineye later found him sitting outside the house. She asked what he was doing outside, to which Ifesinachi replied that he needed fresh air. This got Chineye confused because it rained that very day. She asked him to go inside the house, that Mrs. Anolue instructed her to lock the gates and doors. Ifesinachi told her to go inside and that he would join her shortly. Chineye went upstairs. However, after a while, she heard a loud sound repeatedly coming from the kitchen. She began to wonder what Ifesinachi was hitting. She hurried to the kitchen to check. There was no power supply at the time she stepped out of the bedroom, but luckily for her, as she was going down the stairs, the power supply was restored. When the power was restored, Chineye was met with a shocking sight that left her screaming. She found Chima lying unconscious on the kitchen floor. In a state of panic, she called out Ifesinachi's name, but there was no reply. She then ran to call their tenant, Frank, who then came with 2 of his siblings to try and save Chima. Everyone called and searched for Ifesinachi, but he was nowhere to be found. He was later seen hiding in the backyard of the house. When questioned, Ifesinachi claimed that Chima had fallen and hit his head on the freezer. No one suspected any foul play at the time, so Frank and his siblings rushed Chima to the hospital. But then, things took a very disturbing turn. Ifesinachi was in the car with Chima, who at the time was still struggling to live. While on their way to the hospital, one of the boys caught Ifesinachi trying to strangle Chima. The boy quickly knocked his hands away and asked him to leave Chima alone. It was at this moment that everyone in the car grew suspicious of him. Chima was first taken to Life Hospital, where he was rejected and referred to Auka General Hospital. At the hospital, Chima's wound was stitched, but the doctor informed them that Chima's injuries were not consistent with an accident. He revealed that, contrary to what everyone believed, Chima was deliberately struck with a hard object. The vigilante group was called and they took Ifesinachi into custody. Under pressure, he confessed to the murder. Ifesinachi told the vigilantes that after Chima returned from work, he asked him to boil rice for him. While he was boiling the rice, Chima asked him why he did not wash the dirty plates in the house, but he did not respond to his question. He claimed that Chima gave him a slap, to which he informed him that he has an ear problem and that people don't slap him. He claimed his response further infuriated Chima, as he angrily asked him if he was still talking while he spoke. Ifesinachi said Chima slapped him once again, and this got him angry and he fought back. He claimed that in a fit of rage, he picked up a nearby utensil and attacked Chima with it several times. However, Chinenye countered his claims by revealing that she had washed all the dirty plates in the house after their dinner. Also, when Chima was found in the kitchen, he was lying on his stomach, which indicated that he had been attacked from behind. When Mr. and Mrs. Anolue returned to Auka the next morning, they were told the truth on what happened to their son. The couple collapsed and lost consciousness. However, they were rapidly resuscitated and taken home. Mrs. Anolue claimed Ifesinachi was lying against his son, that he had never laid his hands on any of their house helps before. She also said that Chima would never ask Ifesinachi to boil rice for him. The claims turned out to be the truth, as Ifesinachi later confessed to her in the police station that he attacked and took Chima's life for no reason. He claimed the devil took over him, thereby making him commit the heinous act. Chima was laid to rest on the 22nd of August 2023 at Iboku, Anambra State. He was just 35 years old. This story serves as a reminder that one should not ignore the red flags in people, as the consequences could turn out to be irreparable. If the couple had sent Ifesinachi packing the moment he was caught stealing from the construction site or from the family member, their son would not have suffered the tragic fate. If you learned something from this story, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.